Hi, I'm Jessica Stutzman, and this is the Mill Creek Government Channel. Our guest today is Kristen Huber, Senior Grief and Clinical Services Specialist and Volunteer Services Coordinator of the Highmark Caring Place. Kristen, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm very excited to be here today.
Well, we have interviewed your organization both in and out of the studio. We actually went to your facility, and it was so incredible. And that's all I can really describe it. I know we'll show a lot of B-roll and, a lot of images that you brought to share with us today, but what a fantastic place that you have.
Yes, I'm blessed to love going to my job every day, for sure.
Yeah. Okay, so I want to dive into our show for our viewers who do not know what the Highmark Caring Place is. What is the Caring Place program?
The Caring Place is a center for grieving children. So it is a safe place where kids can come with their families after someone very special in their life has died. Mm-hmm. Our program is child-centered, but family-focused, which means there must be a child attending the Caring Place program in order for the adults to receive support. Mm-hmm. So they come as a family, and they're split up in terms of, kids and adults, and we support the family as a whole.
Mm-hmm. And does it have to be, a relative that passes away? Can it be someone, a really close friend? How does that, work on your end?
I would say 99% of the people, families that come to the Caring Place have had a death within their family system, mm-hmm. But they can absolutely call because, we know that people lose people that are very special to them, and they're not necessarily related, mm-hmm. And it continues to impact them in a really significant way.
Right. And children, again, are, just really learning, the ways of the world. And I think, where, adults can, whether we do a good job coping with grief or death or not, I think you've created a safe place for children.
Yes.
To heal and move forward.
Yes. And I would say I think the number one myth when people call the Caring Place is, I'm not sure if my child needs to come because they're not crying, they're not looking sad, they're really resilient. That's a word that, adults will often say to describe, their child who is grieving. What we say is children are all those things, but they can also be very, very sad and just doesn't look like what they're expecting, mm-hmm. right? When an adult loses someone in their life, there's crying, they look numb, they look in shock, there's too much eating, not enough eating, too much sleeping, not enough sleeping, all of that. For kids, it sometimes comes out as aggression. It comes out as not listening or regressing to past behaviors. So it looks very different. So it can be very confusing when adults have a child within their home that they're trying to support.
Oh, that's so interesting. And it's so true because I feel like with their brains not being fully formed, they don't know how to always cope or express their feelings in the natural way that you would think of.
Absolutely.
Okay. How long has the Caring Place program been in Erie?
We've actually been in Erie since 2001. So there's 4 Caring Places across Pennsylvania. Mm-hmm. The first one was opened in downtown Pittsburgh in 1996, and then we opened in 2001. And then we also have a site in Central PA and also in Warrendale, like the Cranberry area. And all the sites are supported by Highmark. So our families pay absolutely nothing to participate in any type of programming that we offer.
Wow, I feel very lucky to have 1 out of 4 in the entire state of Pennsylvania.
Yes, there's many people that will, can you please come to West Virginia? Can you please come to Buffalo? It is a very unique program, and to have one right here in Erie, PA, mm-hmm. I think is amazing.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. And so there is only 1 Caring Place. You touched on, how much does it cost to attend? Go ahead and go over that again. And where does your funding come from?
So we are supported by Highmark. We're under the Caring Foundation umbrella. Many people call and I don't know if I can come because I don't have Highmark insurance or I don't have any insurance at all. Mm-hmm. That is not even a part of the conversation. Mm-hmm. It's amazing to be able to work for a place that their main goal is to help and support children and families who have been impacted by a death in their life. Mm-hmm. And they don't have to have Highmark insurance. It is literally not even a question that we ask.
Wow.
The only requirement is they have to have had someone in their life that has died, and they're looking for that help and support.
Mm-hmm. That's fantastic. And so my next question is, can anyone attend?
Yes, anyone can attend. We support children from birth until seniors in high school. So we have a preschool room, a young room, a middle room, and then our teen room. So the kids are split up based on their age. So an adult has to call. We don't call families. We've had, very well-intentioned people say, hey, can you give my sister a call? She's hurting in a really big way because her husband passed away and she wants, to get help and support for her children. Making that call themselves is really kind of the first step in the process, kind of indicating that they're kind of ready and willing to kind of take the next step to kind of learn a little bit about our program. So as long as there is a child who has had a death of a person, and I say that because my little ones will say, well, can I come there if my dog died?
Yeah.
It's a very significant loss, absolutely. But there must be a person, a human that has passed away in their life in order for them to attend the Caring Place.
And I don't mean to sidetrack from our questions. When I was there, I thought one of the most interesting things when you walk into the Caring Place is the comfort that you feel when you walk in. And, I did notice again, like almost when you first walk in, there's some couches and books on grief. And I thought that's just some stories to read, little kid stories, little children's books. Sometimes watching a cartoon character grieve and it's like, this is okay and this is normal. I just thought that was one of the, neatest things when I walked into the facility, that was the first thing that was kind of surrounding you and giving you a hug with initially.
Sure. I appreciate you sharing that because so many people we know don't call. Who wants to go to a grieving center, right? Because their perception is sad, and who wants to go to a place where they're going to, feel sad and overwhelmed and all of those things. Not to say that the people that come to our program aren't those things. They are very sad. They are very overwhelmed, trying to manage their grief and then also trying to support their children. But what we do is provide hope that it's not always going to hurt so bad. And doing that by putting adults with other adults, who have had, a similar loss, putting kids with kids their same age, and just providing a safe space for them is a powerful experience, because often our children say they feel very alone. They don't know anyone else in their class who has lost a parent or a sibling or a grandparent. So then when they come to the Caring Place, they're literally sitting in a space with all kids who kind of, understand, what they're experiencing.
Yeah, they have a shared experience.
Yes.
So then they can lean on each other and form bonds and friendships.
Yes, absolutely. And that's what we want. We want them to leave, with each other's, maybe cell phone number or Snap or whatever the social media, thing is for the time. So when they're having a hard day, they can reach out and say, I want to talk about my mom. I want, can you listen? People within their circle typically, I say this gently, but they're kind of tired of them being sad. It's hard to be with someone and sit with someone who is really sad and really stressed out and just overwhelmed with trying to navigate, all of this, grief that they're dealing with. And just giving them the space to be with other kids is I think, life-changing for many of our families.
Yeah. And I think sometimes, I have a little one, and as an adult, I don't always know how best to explain some of the bad things that can happen. And so I think just reading those stories like starts the conversation, or would give me the words that I need to, explain things, or, to just like you said, start the whole process. But I thought that being the first room, like I said, it was kind of just, it is very comforting, and you kind of walk in with, that like you said, it's not all going to be a sad experience. You're going to have some good times there, and you're going to learn how to move on. So if someone is interested in attending, what are the next steps?
The first thing they would do is just, give us a call, 814-871-6868. They can also go on highmarkcaringplace.com, find information there. They can send, via email, kind of, who they are, what they're looking for in terms of support. I think it's important to also mention, some people maybe just don't want to come to the Caring Place, right? A group setting is not what they're looking for. But if there is an adult, let's say a mom who has lost her husband, they can call us and say, my husband just died and I need help explaining this to my children. We will absolutely provide that support in any way that we can.
Yeah. Do you do therapy at the Caring Place?
We do not. All the staff are clinicians, so we have a therapy, base in terms of our education and experience, but everything we do is run by volunteers. If we did not have the volunteers that we have at the Caring Place, we literally could not do the programming that we do and support the hundreds of families that come, into the Caring Place, all the time.
Okay.
We had about 88 volunteers coming back after the pandemic compared to 205 we had before we left. So it's definitely building up, but I work very diligently to make sure that we have enough volunteers, because I don't ever want to say that a family can't come to our program because we don't have, the volunteers in place in order to support them.
Mm-hmm. And so again, rebuilding that volunteer base.
Yes.
Who are you looking for? What type of personality? Who can help? Who should give you a call?
Well, they have to be 21.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very difficult volunteer position to be able to sit with and be present with people who are hurting in a really big way. So they have to be 21, and they have to have a big heart and a willingness to really listen and help those families kind of hold that pain while they're at the Caring Place. And I always say, and if you don't think you're a good listener, we'll teach you how to do that during training.
And that's what I was going to say too. We did speak with a volunteer who was very, very passionate when we came down, and she did speak of the training that was offered. Could you touch on what that training would look like for somebody who's interested?
Well, it's kind of two components. There's some in-person training that they must attend, and then some online modules for them to kind of do at their leisure. And we provide any ongoing trainings. Just we want them to feel kind of confident and comfortable in their position, to feel that they can support the families, in the way that they need.
Mm-hmm. And I kind of want to back up a little bit. When a family comes to the Highmark Caring Place, do they have to be accepted into the program? Do you kind of review the situation and then accept them at the Highmark Caring Place?
Yes and no. It's a little bit of a complicated question. When a family calls, we do an assessment about who they're calling about and what the circumstances were surrounding the loss. For instance, if a child maybe witnessed a homicide or something, similar, we would potentially encourage them to go to some sort of therapy before they came to the Caring Place, if that makes sense. And then if a child is maybe nonverbal or has some maybe verbal and physical aggression, that would be difficult for us to manage because we're a volunteer-run program. But if by chance our program is not a good fit for their family, then we would absolutely find them a place that would be.
And then once they're a good fit for the Highmark Caring Place, and like I said, it's a good puzzle piece to fit together. What does that family do next? Do they show up to some scheduled sessions, or is it come when you want? How does that process work?
Well, after our initial assessment, if the family's like, you know what, I think I do want to learn a little bit more about what this is all about, we invite them for an orientation. We would never expect a family to have a 30-minute conversation with a stranger and then jump right in. We want them to come and do what you did. Come, see our building, learn a little bit more about what we do to support the families of the Caring Place. And then at the end, kind of decide, is this something that we want to do or not? And if it's a or not, then we give them the other resources. If they decide that it's something that's a good fit, then we give them dates for our groups. We have closed groups. So once those families are kind of in that group, that's the families that are kind of together from night 1 until night 10. They really take that journey, with one another through the program.
Wonderful. And then you kind of explained this before, but the children are paired with other children of similar ages. And so as we, toured the facility, we noticed that each room is geared toward a different age group.
Yes.
Do you want to touch on some of the rooms that are available?
Our preschool room is my favorite. As you can imagine, it's not very hard for me to find volunteers who want to snuggle babies, right? But to be transparent, sometimes that preschool room really is a place for someone to drop off their baby so that they can have the support that they need. Because we know if that adult is not okay, their child's not going to be okay, right? But we do activities in the preschool room if there's some older children in there. So there's dress-up outfits. It's amazing. We actually got some, I'm not exactly sure what it's called, but our walls are all like cartoonish and very welcoming right now. But little chairs, little things too. Up in our teen room, we actually just got that remodeled, and it really kind of looks just like a cool teen space, not like the classroom feel that sometimes when you walk into places, it kind of feels like that. This is not that.
Yeah.
Furnitures and lamps and the ambiance is amazing.
Yeah. And then I thought the one thing that was, again, just really, really different. But, you had, I want to call it a boxing room, but that's probably not what it's called.
The expressions room. Kids call it the anger room, but we're like, no, it's the expressions room.
Okay. Do you want to tell us what that does?
Well, there's a huge thing for kids to punch or use a bat to take at it, or adults. People have really big feelings when they've had a death in their life, right? So we think it's important for them to have a safe space to get those feelings out in a safe way. So they can always ask to go to the expressions room if they're feeling, overwhelmed or stressed or just really, really sad, or maybe they just need a little bit of a break from the group room, and that's okay too.
Yeah, and that's a safe space to do that. Where do you see the Highmark Caring Place going in the next, 5 to 10 years?
Well, I hope we're always growing, right? I mean, we've been here since 2001, and there's still people that don't know that we exist. I think it's one of those programs that people don't know about it until they need to know about it, right? I had a gentleman come in and he said, I think I'm supposed to be here. And he had like 5 brochures because he got one from the guidance counselor. He got one from his child's therapist. He got one from the funeral director. He got one from his PCP, but then there's some people that, oh my gosh, my coworker told me about this place. I didn't even know that you were here. Right. So we always want to work on making sure the community knows that we exist. We developed a virtual young adult group program, which is something that we've never done because there's always had to be a child attending or being a part of that programming in order for the adult to be a part of that. But during the pandemic, we had developed a virtual young adult group program, and that's for young adults 18 to 30 who have had a death in their life. There doesn't have to be children or anything. They just have to have had a loss that they're really struggling with, and we would love to be able to support them.
Yeah. Well, you guys do such wonderful, wonderful work. So again, if somebody was viewing this show and says, I think I would be a good fit to volunteer, how do they reach out? How do they connect with you?
Same as a family. They can call the 871-6868 number, go on highmarkcaringplace.com, and you can find my information there. And the ideal thing is I want to chat with them, but I also want them to see the space. That's one of the first things you said is the amazing space. You can't describe that to anyone. So I want people that are interested in volunteering to come down, see the space, get the feel of what that kind of looks and feels like, for them to make a determination if it's a good fit. 9 times out of 10, once I get them in the space, because it can be scary. I don't know if I can do this at a grieving center. It becomes very overwhelming. And I think once they get there and kind of understand that it's not as sad and overwhelming as people might think it is, they're more than willing to help out.
And there's so much you do to celebrate the life of that person too. I remember the celebration quilts where each, square of the quilt celebrates that person's life. I think there are going to be sad times, but I did hear from, the volunteer that the progression she made with children from day one to the last day, she felt like she had made such a difference.
Absolutely, because we let them be whatever they are. People typically pretend they're not sad. I'm fine. They pretend that they're not stressed out and overwhelmed. When they come to the caring place, they can be whoever they are that day, and we don't judge them for where they're at in their journey.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for coming here today. Is there anything you wanted to add that we didn't already touch on?
Not that I can think of. I think the main message is, letting people know about our program, what we can do to support families, and our need for volunteers, for them to be able to come and just learn a little bit about our program. And I always say, if someone comes down, maybe potentially wanting to learn a little bit about the program, and maybe they're not interested, that's okay. It's one more person through our door who can share with the community what we do.
Absolutely. Well, that's such a great way to look at it. Kristen, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Thank you for having me. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and sharing this great story and this great message of this organization. So thank you.
Sure.
viewers, again, I hope you learned so much more about the Highmark Caring Place than maybe you did before the show. This is a great place for children to come and express their grief or their sadness over a loved one and to celebrate them. But this organization also needs volunteers. So if you think that you may be a good fit, please give Kristen a call and reach out, and you'll be able to make a huge difference in the community. So thank you so much for tuning into the Mill Creek Government Channel today. And until next time, have a great day.